StarCraft top leaders PK wife, little Jiao Fu, sick Jiao boss, the top wet nurse in the apocalypse, Qingzhu, hangs the zombie king and sees the end of the apocalypse. Dressed as a true daughter who doesn't hurt or love her mother, she was kicked out of the garbage planet and reached the pinnacle of her life by picking up garbage. In the future interstellar space, planets will emerge with black mist that can corrode everything, and only the Heavenly Maiden can purify the miasma of the black mist. In the era of the prevalence of Heavenly Maidens, she was the true daughter of the Yu family with genetic defects. When the entire online community mocked the shame of the Yu family, photos of top leaders bending down and wearing shoes for the true daughter became popular, making StarCraft fans blind to the big shots. Until graduation season, Black Mist Warcraft attacked, and when they saw true Qingzhu alone, they compared numerous Heavenly Maidens and exclaimed that it was themselves who were blind. Keywords of the novel. A post-apocalyptic tycoon becomes the wife of a commander by picking up garbage without a pop-up window. A post-apocalyptic tycoon becomes the wife of a commander by picking up garbage. Download the full text of the text, and read the latest chapter on how a post-apocalyptic tycoon becomes the wife of a commander by picking up garbage. Chapter 1. The Big Boss in the Garbage Yard. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The Big Boss in the Garbage Yard in 4600 AD, shrouded in black mist for 600 years, the planet appeared in the 369th class. The lowest planet, the planet volume Wallstar garbage collection point. Qingzhu looked at the interstellar coin in his hand and said, 20 interstellar coins. It is enough to buy a wheat mantu. She is too miserable. Little girl, don't lose heart either. You're still a beginner now, try your best next time. Try to raise enough money for your plane ticket. A bald man looked at Qingzhu and couldn't help but remind him, by the way, you have to pick up garbage. Remember to pick up energy, not scrap metal. Where does Qingzhu know what energy is? She traveled through the end of the world and inherited the memories of the original owner. However, the people of the Yu family were persecuted, and now her memory is incomplete. In addition, the original owner has not had any contact with mechs, so ghosts know what energy is. Qingzhu cries at the thought of her arduous journey through time. Half a month ago, she woke up on this garbage planet. From the memory of the original owner, he is a true daughter who has been wrongly held by others since childhood. At the age of 15, he finally returned home and was despised by various people at home. Just because the fake daughter's identity is the Heavenly Maiden, who is a product created in this era. Human beings have spent thousands of years flying towards the universe to develop it, turning some habitable and non-habitable planets into habitable ones, which has triggered taboos. In the year 4000 AD, an unnamed planet emitted a black mist due to resource depletion, covering the entire interstellar space. When the interstellar space is polluted by black mist, both humans and machinery, and the interstellar people are in despair. Born a Heavenly Maiden who can purify everything, and a heavenly weapon who can destroy everything. The Heavenly Maiden is extremely precious, there is only one in 10,000 people. A precious Heavenly Maiden, with her gene damaged, will marry and have children in the future. Children will also be favored by people with genetic defects, and even fools will favor Heavenly Maidens. The original owner was taken home, but due to a genetic disease, the people of the Yu family did not treat each other well. If anything happens to the fake daughter, she just needs to watch the original owner cry and say something without blaming her sister. The original owner would naturally become a villain, and no one in the family listened to her defense. They directly expelled the 16-year-old original owner from the Yu family. When the original owner was expelled, he was not taken to the designated place, but rather abandoned on a garbage planet. The black mist on Wallstar was heavy, and the genetically damaged original owner died suddenly in just 3 days. She had just crossed over and arrived inside her body at this moment. When I woke up, I realized that I was almost starving to death. For the sake of food and clothing, she can only follow a group of people to pick up garbage. The garbage collected every day cannot be exchanged for enough food to feed oneself. The food made from plants in this era is so expensive that even with 20 interstellar coins, she can only drink the lowest level of nutritional liquid. Qingzhu bought a can of the lowest grade nutrient solution with 20 interstellar coins. I touched my stomach and went home. She found a car to settle down in the pile of abandoned cars at her home in Wuxing. Go to the car where she settled in, open the door and walk in. The vehicle is very spacious, similar to a modern RV, but it is quite comfortable to live in except for the lack of water and electricity. Returning home, drinking the nutrient solution, sitting on the chair not far away, began to meditate and use the ability to soothe the injuries on the body. The feeling of pain all over her body made Qingzhu understand that black mist was invading her body and it was destroying her genes. Quickly activating the ability, the physical pain eased a lot. After taking a deep breath, Qingzhu said, "Fortunately, my abilities have come along, and my genetic defect can be repaired with some time." When the physical pain eased a lot, I heard someone knocking on the car door. When I opened the car door, I saw a boy who was 7 or 8 years old. "Boss, a new batch of garbage has arrived. Let's go quickly," he said. Qingzhu didn't expect that in her apocalypse, she would be everyone's treasure. She was a wood-type superpower and had a healing function. She was always stopped when going to the battlefield. Others couldn't stop her from making waves in the future, probably because she had made too many waves in her past life. She wanted to retire in this life, but didn't think of picking up garbage to make a living. Qingzhu quickly nodded and said, "Okay, you wait for me." In order to make a living, she can only get up early and go out to work greedily. If she still wants to leave here, her spaceship ticket will cost 10,000 interstellar coins. She is pitifully poor, her identity information has been destroyed, and it will cost a lot of money to apply for a replacement. If you want to leave, you can only obediently go and pick up garbage to make money. Arriving at the garbage dump, many people started waiting below early. Qingzhu believes that no matter what era, the oppression of the upper class towards the lower class always exists. Even in the interstellar era, destroying garbage to a pollution-free level would require a significant amount of manpower and resources. Even though interstellar law prohibits littering, some people choose to dump their garbage on some lower-level planets in order to avoid high waste disposal fees. Many residents of lower-level planets, who were already struggling with the black mist, are now being treated as garbage disposal plants, and many children are born with deformities. Following the child next to Qingzhu, he had an eye that grew 1 centimeter tall, 6 fingers, and a hunched body that made people think he was a little old man. Xiaoqi used to have several sisters at home. The pollution of black fog and garbage made his brothers and sisters die, and his family lived stubbornly alone. It's ridiculous to say that he hates these garbage and has to rely on them to make a living. As Xiaoqi looked at Qingzhu, "Boss, let me tell you that I have experience in picking up garbage. A few times I didn't have any new garbage, but this time I will definitely find precious ones. I'll take you to find." Xiaoqi is very happy about the boss who saved his life. He has other selfish motives. He follows the boss and the pain of tearing himself apart is much less, so he wants to become someone who makes the boss feel useful. Xiaoqi began to pick and pull with her hands. Qingzhu looked at the garbage mountain and felt like there was something she liked. Starting to climb up desperately, I searched and found a box. When I opened it hard, I saw several cans of nutrient solution and a box of seeds inside. Qingzhu can feel that there is still vitality on the seeds. I looked at the perfectly packaged nutrient solution again, and from its quality, it looked like a high-end product. Advanced nutrient solution, she had seen it in the original owner's memory, the greener the nutrient solution, the higher the level. The nutrient solution here is enough for me to drink for a few days. Even if you don't like it, you can sell the nutrient solution in exchange for a generous reward, allowing yourself to be carefree for a while. She was supposed to think there was nothing good and go back when she heard Xiaoqi's screams. With a cold gaze, he turned to the place where the scream came from. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Like the Apocalypse. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Like the Apocalypse. No, this is the nutrient solution for the boss to drink. Xiaoqi also picked up a bottle of good quality nutrient solution, knowing that Qingzhu hasn't had enough to eat these days. He finally found it. He wants to give the boss a drink. When he dug it up just now, he didn't drink it. You should know that he found a treasure like nutrient solution here. Advanced ones all have the effect of suppressing black mist and devouring the body. Many people are unable to purchase advanced nutrient solutions, and a bottle of advanced nutrient solutions costs tens of thousands of interstellar coins. Even if the nutrient solution in their hands is already damaged, it is still worth several hundred interstellar coins. Little monster, bring it to me. The man ignored and stepped on Xiaoqi's head, causing him to scream in pain. The nutrient solution in his hand was snatched away, and his head was bleeding. When he was stepped on just now, there was a nail underneath. The man didn't pay attention and drank the nutrient solution. This kind of place is ignored by the federal government, and people work hard to survive. Killing a few people is common. Qingzhu watched as his little brother was being bullied, and he grabbed an iron rod and threw it fiercely. The man didn't react and the iron rod penetrated his chest, causing him to fall not far away. It has to be said that the vitality of interstellar beings is really forward, and if it were to be modern, this person would have already run out of breath. Xiaoqi. Qingzhu fell to the ground and looked at Xiaoqi's head. He stroked his forehead with his palm and used his powers to heal him. Xiaoqi's injury has healed, but he has lost too much blood and is still unconscious. Qingzhu is holding Xiaoqi with a box. Looking at the man who was seriously injured not far away, his eyes were cold. The man's face was pale as he looked at the fierce woman in front of him. His body trembled and he ran away, ignoring his already severely injured body. Because the injury was too severe, there was still blood flowing on the ground while running. The pain on his body and the threat of disappointment kept the man from stopping. He didn't suspect that leaving Qingzhu would directly kill himself. He still has a chance to survive now. She didn't chase after her departing figure, that man couldn't live. Qingzhu felt the people around him looking at him, and his eyes turned cold. The people around immediately started trembling and picking up garbage on the ground. Qingzhu left with a box and Xiaoqi, while the others breathed a sigh of relief. The new leader Xiaoqi seems quite impressive. Just now, I saw her jump down from a 10-meter high place like this. Shoo, stop talking. This person looks quite thin and not easy to bully, so stay away from him in the future. The evaluation of Qingzhu by the garbage collectors around him was fierce. Just now, Qingzhu's move was fast, accurate, and ruthless. Whether a man can survive or not depends on luck. Qingzhu took Xiaoqi back to her car and found him sleeping. She opened the box to look. There are some seeds, but there is a slight loss. If you plant them with your own abilities for a month, you can have a harvest. Do you know where there is land within 100 miles? Qingzhu wants to find a place to farm. You need to know the post-apocalyptic woody superpowers, but even virus-contaminated land can make plants bloom everywhere. Boss. Xiaoqi woke up to find that he wasn't dead. Boss. Did you save me? You silly kid, didn't you tell me before that if you found something good to eat, don't hesitate? Why didn't you eat it yourself? Qingzhu turned around and said in a bad tone. I want to give it to the boss. Xiaoqi lowered his head and looked at the nutrient solution picked up by Qingzhu, realizing that his previous approach was a bit foolish. Qingzhu saw the other person's appearance and knew his grateful heart. At first, she met Xiaoqi, who was about to die. Out of pity and also out of curiosity about the intelligence of this planet, she saved this little guy. I didn't expect this little guy to repay me. By the way, where is there land here? Is the boss talking about places that are not covered by garbage? There are many places where I used to live, but they are far from the garbage dump. There is new garbage that has been checked in, and we can't immediately know the news. In the future, it will be difficult for us to have good treasures when picking up leaks. Qingzhu looked at Xiaoqi, realizing that garbage pollution had made him deformed, and he had to rely on these deformed garbage to survive. Not only the residents of Xiaoqi are like this, the planet is shrouded in black mist, and they have no ability to plant or obtain cultivation. The only way to survive is through work. There are very few places to work on a garbage planet, and 70% of people on a low-level planet are unemployed. In order to survive, they can only rely on searching for the waste that has fallen from a high-level planet to make a living. Xiaoqi took Qingzhu to find a place to grow vegetables. A thin black mist can be seen from 100 meters away, no wonder no one is here. But you can test it yourself and see if you can plant the seeds you find alive here. From the beginning, there was fertile land here, and Qingzhu started working with tools not far away, judging from the things left behind. Not long ago, there were still people living and farming here nearby, but unfortunately it has now been abandoned due to the black mist. Black fog makes it difficult for many planets to grow, but of course, she makes this an exception. Qingzhu flipped the soil and threw a few seeds into the soil. Xiaoqi crouched down curiously and said, "Boss, what are you doing?" "Planting." Qingzhu covered the seeds with soil, and this time she was lucky enough to have some precious seeds, including tomato, potato, and chili seeds. "Here, took a can of nutrient solution and the little guy beside him. "Boss, this nutrient solution is high-end, I'm not hungry if you drink it yourself." The high-level nutrient solution found in the garbage pile is similar to winning a lottery. "Silly kid, take it." Qingzhu didn't have a good airway. She didn't really like the nutrient solution, and if she had no taste, she could only satisfy her stomach. After looking at the 7 cans of nutrient solution in her hand, she planned to sell it and exchange it for some meat and vegetables to eat. Meat is relatively cheap, while vegetables are exorbitant in this world. The two of them tidied up the room. Although Xiaoqi didn't know why Qingzhu lived here, he followed obediently. "Boss, I remember I seemed to be injured." He remembered that his head was super painful at that time. How could he wake up without pain? "You're too scared to have an illusion," Qingzhu replied after tidying up her small house. The water sources on the garbage planet are also severely polluted, and pure water can always be found near the city center. The only city center on the garbage planet, if you want to stay in it for a day, you will need 100 interstellar coins. Garbage pickers don't want to stay for a few days. The residents inside the city can enjoy fresh food, luxurious and decadent life, while those outside the city are deformed, suffering and devoid of human nature. What is the difference between her past life and the afterlife she lived in? End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Putting interests first. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Putting interests first. Upon hearing this, Xiaoqi nodded and began to work with his head down. Qingzhu looked at the other person's 6 fingers and their deformed appearance, and her heart couldn't help but soften a bit. "Don't worry, follow the boss. I will definitely make you eat spicy food in the future." "Boss." Xiaoqi's eyes turned red. "Actually, following boss makes me super happy. Boss, if you don't know that I'm with you, I actually have a purpose. When I'm by your side, I feel no pain all over my body." He feels so despicable, the boss is so kind to him, and he always takes advantage of the boss. Qingzhu was angry and laughed at by the little guy. "Don't forget, when I just came, you took me to pick up the garbage. I can't find it, give me something to eat, that's why I should thank you." At the beginning, although she saved Xiaoqi, Xiaoqi also brought herself food, otherwise she would have really starved to death. Qingzhu and Xiaoqi are living here, and they still have to go to pick up garbage. She thinks there should be a plan for picking up, so the next day, she found a shuttle bus to tow them. There is actually no foul odor in the garbage, and almost all kitchen waste is fed to livestock. The main waste thrown here is industrial waste. To ask these industrial waste, why can treasures be found without anyone sorting them at first? Because the cost is too high and the pollution is too severe, even robots can easily pollute this industrial waste for a long time. People from advanced and intermediate planets wouldn't joke about their own lives. Only the people of this garbage planet come to pick up garbage for a bite, and all the treasures they find will be recycled. This recycling method can help the company save more costs while avoiding pollution. Come to the garbage dump. Qingzhu brought a pair of back covers and found that the nutrient solution had a unique scent. As long as she searched according to the scent, she could find good things. Xiaoqi followed behind Qingzhu to dig, and in just a while, the two of them found a can of nutrient solution. They happily put it in their small cloth bag. Qingzhu felt that she had not lived in such a miserable state in the apocalypse. When picking up garbage, I heard someone fall to the ground not far away. Turning my head, I saw a small and thin-looking child convulsing on the ground. The people around are indifferent to life and death. Boss, let's not worry. Xiaoqi was afraid that Qingzhu would soften his heart soon after coming here, so he quickly stopped him. You should know that there are several people who fall down here in a day, and they are all striving to live without any spare time to care about others. Qingzhu nodded and tidied up her mood, only to hear a one-eyed man nearby happily holding a small box. The energy box is still for mechs, that's great. With this, I can stay in the city for 10.5 days. The one-eyed man didn't have time to be happy. Suddenly, a person appeared behind him and stabbed the one-eyed man. The stabbing man grabbed the box and ran away. Qingzhu feels that the survival rules of this garbage planet are as cruel as the apocalypse. Qingzhu and his companions quietly dug and finally found some good things, dragging them to the recycling point. This time, about 100 interstellar coins were sold. Qingzhu looked around and said, "Boss, do you recycle nutrient solution here?" Nutrient solution. I don't want low-level ones, I want high-end ones. Advanced nutrient solutions are priceless in this market. How much can you give me for the advanced nutrient solution? Qingzhu smiled and said. If it's well preserved, I'll give you 5,000 interstellar coins per can. If there's no well-preserved nutrient solution, I'll give you a few hundred or so, the boss said. This is a fair price. Qingzhu and Xiaoqi exchanged a glance and knew that the price was fair. At first, the two of them inquired. Thinking of the original owner returning to the Yu family and seeing that the fake daughter was drinking almost all the top-quality nutritional liquid, she couldn't help but sigh. No wonder the original owner appeared petty when he returned. She has been drinking a can of nutrient solution worth 100 interstellar coins all along, and she also drank it twice. It's strange to suddenly discover that others are drinking nutrient solutions that cost tens of thousands of yuan or even more. I sold it, I found 2 cans. Qingzhu wanted to eat meat more than nutrient solution. Moreover, although the nutrients in the nutrient solution are high, she can still see that there are no real fruits and vegetables that are even higher. The boss looked at Qingzhu and asked him to pick up the goods. A can of advanced nutrient solution can fill the stomach for 3 days and alleviate the pain caused by black mist, even if the boss needs it. Looking at 2 cans of nutrient solution, the boss gave Qingzhu 10,000 interstellar coins. With interstellar coins available, Qingzhu happily took Xiaoqi and planned to go to the city to buy some meat and vegetables. Little girl, be careful when you leave. He runs a recycling bin and can tell at a glance that Qingzhu doesn't belong here. Wearing clothes that belong to the advanced planet, he thought Qingzhu was in trouble and came here to help. If he goes back in the future, he may help himself. Of course, even if there is no support, forming a good relationship may lead to good results in just a few words. Qingzhu responded with a smile, as if accepting the boss's kindness. Arriving at the float bus stop, a person gave 10 interstellar coins to get on the bus in the city. Xiaoqi nervously grabbed his clothes and said, "Boss. I'll wait for you outside the protective cover." He looks strange, and if he goes in, he will definitely be called a monster by those people. Qingzhu took out a hat and put it on Xiaoqi's body. "This way, you won't be able to see it," he said. Xiaoqi looked at his boss pulling his hat with his hands, saw his 6 fingers, and quickly pulled his sleeve to hide. The bus to the vegetable market is direct. The bus shuttles through the garbage planet, and there are dense figures waiting at many garbage-cutting corners. There were people standing on the spaceship pouring garbage, looking down with a mocking expression. She had good eyesight and could see those people doing all kinds of indecent things. The people below are numb and unresponsive, even if there are water stains dripping from their bodies, they cannot stop their garbage-picking action. Qingzhu withdrew his gaze and quickly arrived at the city, where there was a protective cover above to isolate the approaching black mist. Many people inside are dressed brilliantly. Qingzhu was actually thinking that the tilted garbage outside would almost cover the dense land below, and the people inside the city couldn't possibly not know. Knowing that there is no movement, is it with the consent of the people in the city? Otherwise, why hasn't anyone exposed this matter? It's probably not that they haven't been exposed, but rather that the people above are covering up together. The people in the garbage dump don't have their own brains, so they can't even go to the interstellar network. So what about exposure? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Meat delivered to the door. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Meat delivered to the door. After all, interstellar law clearly stipulates that indiscriminate disposal of garbage is illegal. After getting off the car, Qingzhu took people to the market for fresh fish and some vegetables. Qingzhu bought a fish, along with some vegetables and chili peppers, her favorite, and naturally didn't forget to buy them. Holding the chili in her hand, she found that the seeds inside the chili could not be used as seeds. Are you afraid that others might extract the seeds, so you drugged these vegetables? It seems that she only purchased some food to eat, and when calculating the money, she found that she spent 3,000 interstellar coins. Fortunately, the food here is enough to eat for several days. She also purchased a small refrigerator that can hold meat and generate electricity automatically with just wind power. The electricity can be used for almost a year when fully charged. Qingzhu discovered that technology was indeed more advanced than his own era. I have purchased everything I need. Qingzhu took Xiaoqi home. After getting home, take out the high-tech stove you purchased and start cooking and stir-frying. Xiaoqi looked at the delicious food and couldn't help but swallow his saliva. "Boss, it smells great, but I can't afford these foods," he said. 1 kilogram of cabbage costs 200 interstellar coins, while 1 kilogram of tall rice costs 500 interstellar coins, and 1 kilogram of meat and vegetables costs only a few dozen interstellar coins. Of course, these meats are all demonized meats contaminated with black gas, and eating too much is not good for the body. Qingzhu bought 50 pounds of demonized meat. She bought so much because she realized that her abilities could eliminate the demonized energy on it. The things polluted by black mist are collectively referred to as being demonized. After stir-frying, Qingzhu brought the food to the table. Xiaoqi hesitated and the boss shouted to eat before eating. "Delicious, boss, this meat is delicious. Why doesn't it have a sour taste?" The demonized meat has a hint of sourness, and it's almost only for those who are starving and unable to eat it. Secret. Qingzhu smiled and said, asking the little one to eat more if he liked it. For the first time in the years since the end of the world, Qingzhu has tasted such a delicious pile of food. In the apocalypse, there is also food to eat, but unfortunately, there are so few seasonings. It's not the same as now. As long as you have money, there are all kinds of seasonings. Having eaten almost, Qingzhu tidied up and went out to see the fruits and vegetables he had sown. Tomatoes and chili peppers, Qingzhu crouched down and injected his powers into the ground. You can see a small bean sprout sprouting, but due to its ability to ripen, excessive ripening can ruin the taste of the plant itself. She can only hold back her sinful hand. The sky gradually darkened, and Qingzhu and Xiaoqi were sleeping in the room. At night, you can hear some noise outside. Xiaoqi trembled and said, "Boss, there are demonized wolves here." Demonized wolves are some animals that have been demonized by black mist, collectively referred to as demonized creatures. Qingzhu opened her eyes and stood up to look out, only to find several wolves looking at the room in green light. Because the windows were all intact, these things couldn't break in. Qingzhu looked at the wolves emitting green light and couldn't help but lick her lips. "This is the meat delivered to your door," she said. "Say hello to Xiaoqi in the room, change into clothes, open the door and go out." The demonized wolf immediately pounced. As Qingzhu looked at the little thing who didn't talk about martial arts, the iron thorn in his hand fiercely penetrated the opponent's chest, and the demonized wolf immediately lost its breath. Throwing the body of the wolf aside, looking at the nearby wolf, it licked its lips and estimated that it was several 100 pounds of meat. She is a superpower who eats more than 10 pounds of meat a day. Although meat is cheap, it is also money. Is it worth your money to send them to your door now and let them run away? The demonized wolves felt something was wrong. The way this human food looked at them was even greener than the way they looked at her. After a while, Qingzhu rushed over, and Xiaoqi in the room couldn't help but swallow his saliva as he watched Qingzhu stab the demonized wolf. The boss was really amazing. Qingzhu looked at the wolf on the ground and dragged it not far away to start using clear water. The water source looks clear, but there is a sour taste. Drinking too much of this thing can cause deformities for both adults and children. She doesn't have to worry, just to say that she has a power that doesn't sound good. Even if the post-apocalyptic virus can't kill her, how could she be killed by this pollution? She is not only a superpower, but also a self-purifying and healing person, and she can withstand this pollution. The Heavenly Maiden of this world. Is it just like one's own abilities? Never mind, the matter between the Heavenly Maiden and the original owner will be discussed after I have adjusted my body and left this haunted place. After cleaning, Qingzhu will process the meat and keep the wolf skin for winter clothes. Thinking that she could leave with 10,000 interstellar coins, she was eager to leave. The problem was that she needed to have an identification document. Without an identification document, it was impossible for her to board a spaceship. In a nutshell, people from the garbage planet, especially those like Xiaoqi, cannot be approached by spacecraft. Some people from the garbage planet want to leave and need to obtain a certificate. When she was thrown here, her ID cards were all destroyed, and if she wanted to leave, she could only apply for a replacement. However, how could she apply for a replacement ID card? Her little money was just a pipe dream. After processing the wolf meat, Qingzhu began to clean the wolf skin. Once processed, it was a complete piece of fur. Xiaoqi also came out to help clean up together. "Boss, you've eaten too much meat, you'll be the same as us." He doesn't want the boss to be such a beautiful person like the people here. On weekdays, when the boss went to pick up garbage, he would become disheveled. When she returned home and washed it clean, Xiaoqi realized that the boss was really super good looking. Her fair skin, willow eyebrows, and delicate face make her look different from them. Such a good looking person, eating these things, she will also become a monster like them. The people in the city all say they are monster nightmares, and the inner city center almost prevents them from approaching because these deformed monsters are approaching. Qingzhu reached out to touch the other person's small head and said, "Don't worry, the boss is a person from an advanced planet with super powerful abilities that can make the meat harmless. Of course, you can't tell anyone. Boss, you're really amazing." Xiaoqi's face turned pale. "I will definitely keep the secret." Without any reason, Qingzhu gained several hundred pounds of meat and was still very happy. The next day, he made a barbecue. The meat flavor of the barbecue made Qingzhu's stomach growl, and he and Xiaoqi accidentally ate too much. These wolves won't be able to eat for a few days, so it's better to have some more. Qingzhu couldn't help but lick his lips while eating wolf meat. Boss, even if you demonize a wolf like this, you will be scared to pee. After eating and drinking enough, the two of them dragged a cart to pick up the garbage. However, due to yesterday's situation, Qingzhu would tilt down the garbage and wear protective gear before going up. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Selling Biobots. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Selling Biobots. She can accurately locate the nutrient solution and energy box, so she doesn't blindly dig like others standing there. When she felt a treasure in a place, she went to dig and saw that there was more garbage than yesterday. Did yesterday when she went to the city, the spaceship that took out the garbage came again. Have you dumped a lot of garbage these days? I used to come once a month, but now I come every 3 days or 2. Although the garbage collector was happy, she still felt something was wrong. When Qingzhu was pulling, he suddenly pulled onto a person with a handsome and beautiful appearance. Qingzhu was surprised and poked with her hand, "Is this a robot?" The feel is silky, and looking at the wiring on his arm, it seems that the robot is not wrong. Just feel like his body functions are similar to humans, with vitality on his body. Is it possible that he is a bio-human? You should know that the cost of bio-humans is very expensive, even if the original owner's family cannot purchase them. Qingzhu dragged the person out, and Xiaoqi also ran up. Is this a robot? Biochemical person, Qingzhu said, being eroded by the black mist, causing the machine to crash. No one knows where the black mist comes from. Anyway, mechanical technology is easily eroded, even bio-humans are difficult to resist. Qingzhu used his supernatural powers to demonize and transform his qi. If he were to be able to move, he would make a fortune. The biochemical person had an extremely beautiful appearance. Qingzhu threw the person onto the car and said, walking home, this person can be repaired and sold, and can earn a lot of money. She, who was obsessed with wealth, didn't hesitate to sell this thing. You should know that this is a treasure. I'm sorry if I don't sell it. When he took it back, Xiaoqi watched carefully. Qingzhu cleaned her body and found that there was nothing special about her body compared to a human man. After staring at him, he nodded solemnly and said, "You have a great figure." Yen Buchan looked gloomily at the people outside who were scrutinizing him. He didn't expect to draw his spiritual power onto this biochemical person, and something went wrong and he was injured by the enemy. Just pack and throw a planet full of garbage everywhere. Although according to interstellar law, littering is strictly prohibited, are there still people who act recklessly and act recklessly? Quickly, he pressed down on his doubts and still couldn't get rid of the current situation. After all, one's own spiritual power is suppressed. When he was about to be annihilated and fall into a deep sleep, he felt a refreshing sensation seeping in and stared at the young girl in front of him, stunned. This girl can actually eliminate demonic energy. Is she a Heavenly Maiden? Qingzhu cleaned it up and said, when will he start moving? When will he move so that I can sell it? Yen Buchan fell silent as he listened to the other party's 3 words of not leaving and selling himself. Sister, I don't know either. Xiaoqi shook his head. Isn't this something that nobody wants until he wakes up? Definitely, who wants a piece of trash? The reason why bio-humans are expensive is because they have strong autonomy. If a bio-human cannot do anything, it is just garbage. Qingzhu looked at the biochemical person and said, forget it, let it go for now. Qingzhu thought about the vegetables she had grown and ran out to irrigate the vegetable field. Xiaoqi also made a move on the side. Yen Buchan tried to control his body, but found that no matter what, he couldn't control it. I opened my eyes several times and fell into a deep sleep, still feeling too weak. At night, Tu Yenbucken felt a refreshing sensation on his body, which was very comfortable. I inputted many abilities, and finally saw the other person open their eyes today. Look, you've woken up. Pointing to the Resident Evil, what level of Resident Evil are you? I am a biochemist belonging to my profession, only owned by my master. That means you should dispel your thoughts and not think of selling me. Qingzhu didn't agree with these words and used his powerful spiritual power to invade the opponent's system, only to find that there was no mark. Take it and find someone else to restart. Qingzhu dragged his package and took the Resident Evil man away. Recycle bin. Looking at the biochemical person dragged by Qingzhu, he was surprised and said, "Okay." "Yeah, okay." Qingzhu nodded and said, "Look. You can talk, and you don't have any demonic energy on you. You can format it and turn it around to buy a big price." Yenbucken's face turned pale as he looked at the woman beside him. Does she really know who she is? Oldly looked at the biochemical person and understood in his heart that it was a valuable item. As long as there is no demonized gas, sell it in the city and increase the price several times, as for whether there is a master. I have arrived at this garbage planet and want to return to my master's side with beautiful thoughts. 500,000 interstellar coins, said Oldly, looking at Qingzhu with a smile. Do you think I'm a fool? Qingzhu said with a black face. This thing has a market but no price, not everyone can have it. 5 million interstellar coins, you can be on guard when you change hands. He doesn't have any demonic energy on his body, just want you to play around. When Oldly looked at it, 2 million interstellar coins, you need to understand. This thing doesn't have demonizing energy, and we have to put in a lot of effort. Okay, Qingzhu gritted his teeth and said the two of them hit it off and sold Yenbucken. Yenbucken's body was not yet under control when he heard these people shouting. Is there anything wrong with this woman? He's a biochemist, only 2 million. Has her mind gone crazy? Qingzhu's brain hasn't been flooded, so what about the bio-human? In her eyes, the head is just a commodity, 2 million. She can buy a lot of things. With this money, you can buy it on your own, and everything will be fine when you run away. As for why not let this Oldly figure out a way for himself, let's just forget it. Let Oldly know that he has no main idea and that she is also troublesome if he has bad thoughts. After all, not many people living in this place are good things. Good people can hardly survive. Oldly too has also done it before. When someone sells goods and gives money, he turns around and blames others. Qingzhu didn't move, and for more reasons, he thought she was a high-end planet. Something happened and he came here. It won't be long before he leaves. Getting 2 million yuan, regardless of the gruesome gaze of the biochemical person, he felt incredibly happy in his heart. On the way back, Qingzhu looked at Xiaoqi and said, Xiaoqi. Have you seen it? No matter how precious something is, it's not as precious as money. Xiaoqi understood. The two nodded solemnly. On the way back, the two of them suddenly felt a different aura, and the powerful destructive power surprised her a bit. What a powerful demonic aura, murmured Qingzhu. The boss is the Heavenly Soldier. The Heavenly Soldiers have seen it before. The Heavenly Soldiers have absolute power to kill everything, but they will slowly be eroded by the black mist. The combat effectiveness of the eroded Heavenly Soldiers is even more ferocious than that of demonized creatures. How could there be a demonized celestial weapon here? Xiaoqi pulled Qingzhu and ran. Qingzhu was surprised that the other party was so familiar with the process of demonization of the Heavenly Soldier. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Guanyu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Guanyu. The two people who had no intention of getting involved originally planned to leave. Wait. Qingzhu remembered that although the heavenly soldiers were not as noble as the heavenly maidens, they were also extremely loved. I can't leave now, and I have to use a lot of means to apply for documents. If there is a heavenly soldier leading me, everything will be different. Xiaoqi, you're waiting for me here. Qingzhu leapt up and disappeared into place. Arriving at this small house, there was a young man curled up on the bed, with sweat all over his forehead. His cheeks had already been engulfed by some black marks, forming an empty wall around him, destroying everything around him. Qingzhu understands that the destruction of this heavenly soldier is not insignificant. If left unchecked, this area will be killed after his demonization. In order to be able to go back and not be destroyed by the other party, I want to live a better life. Qingzhu gritted his teeth and in an instant, his ability invaded the opponent's body. Guanyu felt like his whole body was about to crack apart. I want to destroy everything and devour everything. The body is very painful, and this kind of pain is to tear apart one's soul. Suddenly, a cool breeze shone in, just like a ray of sunlight in the darkness, making the desperate person instinctively reach out and grab it. Qingzhu was suddenly held down by someone, and for a moment he felt unhappy. He realized that the other person had no malicious intent and did not shake off. She understood that this reaction was an instinctive stress response in his body. Powerful abilities constantly flood into the opponent's body, allowing them to be redeemed both spiritually and spiritually. Qingzhu felt that the other party had calmed down and pushed the person away. He is a very small-looking boy with a handsome and delicate appearance, giving everyone a harmless feeling. When Qingzhu looked at the other person, he reached out his hand to lift them, and when he left, he saw Xiaoqi anxiously waiting. Sister, how are you? Xiaoqi worried. Don't worry, I'm not dead. I'm okay, Qingzhu smiled and said, dragging the person on his back to go home. Looking at the person on Qingzhu's back, Xiaoqi wondered, is this person a heavenly soldier? Yeah, I can't believe it either, but he's been devoured by the black mist and needs to rest for a while. Qingzhu looked at the heavenly soldier and felt that the other person's impression of him was not very impressive. Of course, she was not careless either. A person who seemed harmless to humans and animals might be a killer. I have also encountered it in my past life. Returning home, he threw Guanyu on the bed and went to get some water for him to drink. After drinking it, Guanyu's face improved a lot, but Qingzhu didn't mind and started preparing today's barbecue for Xiaoqi. His consciousness is actually very clear, but he can't wake up. Why is the Heavenly Maiden here? No, such a powerful aura is impossible for even the most powerful celestial maiden in the interstellar realm. Who is that girl? The pain on my body has decreased significantly, which really makes me lucky. When Qingzhu entered, he found Guanyu sitting not far away. Who are you? Qingzhu looked at the other person in surprise and heard the young man say. Who am I? Qingzhu said, Dear, let's not play with this thing. Do you suffer from amnesia? The boy who heard the words lowered his head, his eyes bright red, and he looked as if he had been bullied and cried, pitiful and pitiful. Looking at this scene, Qingzhu could not help but secretly roast, which is really not an ordinary poor look. I'm sorry, the boy lowered his head. I just remember my name is Guanyu, and I don't remember anything else. Why am I here? Sister, he doesn't have any memory, is it useless? Xiaoqi came out from behind and looked at Guanyu, saying. How do I know? When Qingzhu heard this, he was one head and too big, and this person was almost like this. Guanyu looked at the reaction of Qingzhu and others and lowered his head, saying, I'm sorry. Forget it. Qingzhu walked over. You were saved by me and will be my servant from now on. You have to work to pay off your debts. When you remember everything, you have to take me away. Sister, you said this condition honestly. Qingzhu is joking, why should someone save themselves at a lower price than others? Okay, Guanyu nodded. Qingzhu touched the other person's head and said, "This is a good child, you good. Sister is covering you." He took himself away and covered up the other person. The only downside is when will this guy regain his memory? Shouldn't it be pretending? Qingzhu looked at it and realized that it didn't matter whether it was real or fake. The important thing was that this guy had to take him and Xiaoqi away. Guanyu is staying here. His height is actually higher than that of Qingzhu, and it is said that this is the perfect face for a teenager. Qingzhu commanded the other party to hoe her own land, and since there was no other place to fully utilize her value, she went to the field to show her own value. Guanyu is working tirelessly in the field, and he doesn't feel right. He shouldn't do these things himself. "Brother, how can you be lazy?" Xiaoqi immediately ran up. "I saved you, but you still don't work. We saved it for nothing." Xiaoqi believes that it is fair for Guanyu to work more and less with his sister. Guanyu was obediently working, feeling a bit helpless in his heart, feeling that something was wrong. He shouldn't have been working like this. Qingzhu is not far away, holding a cucumber that was purchased from the vegetable market. "When eating, I feel the taste is good, work hard." Encouraged while watching Guanyu. Guanyu silently began to hoe the field, and the young man stood not far away hoeing, which was a scenic line. Qingzhu also felt that the scenery was a bit pleasing to the eye, super beautiful. Guanyu's first time eating Qingzhu's food was delicious, as if he had never tasted it before. "After finishing, you can come with us to pick up the garbage later," Qingzhu said. "We don't have money, we have to pick up garbage to survive." If you don't pick up garbage, you won't have money to eat." "Okay," Guanyu nodded. In his current state of confusion, he felt that this matter was a bit unreliable and obediently followed suit. In the garbage dump, the three of them buried their heads in hard work, and Guanyu's somewhat dazed gaze suddenly lit up, looking at what he was doing. Suddenly, my face turned green with anger. But in an instant, the light went out and he held the box in his hand. "Sister, what do you think of this?" Xiaoqi pursed his lips. "This person is like a weirdo and calls himself sister." Qingzhu looked at it and said, "I don't know about this box. Just throw it on and sell it." Guanyu is very happy to receive recognition. He works even harder to pick up garbage. He must pick up a lot of garbage, and then there will be delicious food every day. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Picking up a little milk dog. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Picking up a little milk dog. Guanyu dragged the waste he had picked up and ran over like a sprint. "Sister, take a look at these things that I found." The young man's face wore a smile. "Not bad, keep working hard." Qingzhu patted the other person's shoulder with satisfaction. "I took Xiaoqi and pushed the cart to deliver the goods. I can't leave immediately, so I'll pick up more garbage and sell it for money." Guanyu stood behind, looking at his hands in the wind in disorder, wishing to give him a big mouth. "What happened to him just now? Why did you pick up trash?" Quickly, I felt my consciousness being annihilated again. "Sister, wait for me." Guanyu quickly caught up with Qingzhu. Listening to her coquettishly calling her sister from behind, Qingzhu turned around and didn't feel good. "Who made you daydream?" "I'll tell you. You're such a beautiful little boy, it's very dangerous here." Upon hearing this, Guanyu's face turned pale with fear, and even Xiaoqi couldn't bear it. "Sister, don't bully him." He felt that Qingzhu was bullying him like this. After Guanyu regained his memory, what should he do without taking them away? Qingzhu laughed heartily and said, "Okay, don't bully." 3 people went shopping, and the boss came in surprise as Qingzhu didn't leave. "I thought you bought a ticket and left." "You didn't have us," which means Old Li felt that Qingzhu couldn't take Xiaoqi away. I'm quite fast alone. I want to take Xiaoqi with me, but it will take some effort, Qingzhu smiled and said. Xiaoqi was talking to Guanyu not far away and did not hear the discussion on this side. Are you sure that child is deformed? Even if taken out, it won't be of much use. Xiaoqi's ugly appearance was also rejected by others when he went out. Of course, if Qingzhu spends money on plastic surgery, he can still make Xiaoqi look different. Unfortunately. How could people from advanced planets be willing to spend money on such monsters? Boss, this is my business, Qingzhu smiled, meaning you don't have to worry. Old Li is not a fool either, he can see what Qingzhu means. Starting to bring waste to Qingzhu, this time the income was 300 yuan, although it was considered meat. Qingzhu left with the two of them. Xiaoqi sat on the cart, and Guanyu saw it and also sat on it. What are you doing up there? Qingzhu didn't have a good breath. He sat down, why can't I sit? Guanyu pursed his lips and said, you're biased. Guanyu's words were very reasonable, and Qingzhu quickly nodded. I am biased. I have been biased for many days, and if you don't obediently listen to me now, I will let you know how biased I am. Guanyu sensed the threat and obediently got off the car. Sister, I'm also your younger brother, she said with a hint of pity, you are my younger brother, take a look at yourself and others' size. Qingzhu didn't have a good way of speaking, I don't want to sit up. You still want to pick up my wool. She felt that she didn't just sit on the cart and let him push it, instead he wanted to take advantage. Upon hearing this, Guanyu's eyes lit up and he lifted Qingzhu onto the cart. I'll push my sister, she said as she pushed the cart away. Qingzhu didn't react and the cart overturned. She and Xiaoqi both threw it into the garbage dump. Guanyu. This was the most embarrassing time for Qingzhu, as he plunged into the garbage dump. When Guanyu saw Qingzhu, he said, I'm sorry. Can you walk obediently for me? If my brain breaks, I'll be foolish, or did I intentionally mess with myself? Qingzhu seriously suspected that Guanyu was intentional, as her physical condition was even more uncomfortable. Being scolded by Qingzhu like this, Guanyu felt a bit pitiful, but he didn't dare to make trouble at this moment. Qingzhu felt inexplicably thrown for no reason, feeling extremely upset. The look in Guanyu's eyes also became a bit cold. When he went back to take a shower, he suspected that Guanyu was cheating on him. Qingzhu went out and saw Guanyu carefully looking at her, pinching her ear and saying, Sister, you hit me. It's my fault. The pitiful appearance, aside from its lethality, definitely has some, and even Qingzhu is now left speechless by this lethality. I don't bully you either, but you're not allowed to do anything bad in the future, he sighed, Sister, I will definitely not harm you. I will be very obedient, Guanyu nodded obediently. Qingzhu didn't investigate when Guanyu nodded, and at night he took a shower preparing to go to bed. I saw Guanyu grabbing his clothes and saying, Sister, can I sleep with you at night? Why are you sleeping with me? Qingzhu didn't have a good airway. Sister, I hurt. He could feel closer to Qingzhu, his whole body no longer hurting, and he wanted to follow her. Qingzhu looked at Guanyu and thought of Xiaoqi's words, no, you can go there and sleep on your own. Joking, if you feel pain, come and take advantage of it. Think beautifully. Guanyu went out aggrieved, while Qingzhu lay down and shouted loudly after a tiring day. Of course, if there was any movement, you could hear it, but there weren't too many problems. I quickly closed my eyes again. The next morning, Qingzhu opened the door and saw Guanyu lying asleep at the door. What are you doing here, Guanyu? Sister. Guanyu looked at Qingzhu with a surprised look, I just want to get closer to my sister. Qingzhu really wanted to say, get lost, saying all sorts of messy things, and was too lazy to pay attention to the other person. However, looking at the other person's reaction and appearance, if you want to get closer in the future, just drag a bed and place it here. There's no need to lie on the ground. Xiaoqi hugged his eyes and came out, "Sister, I think he's playing coquettish with you. I'm a bit unhappy, this man really likes to act spoiled." When he heard this, Guanyu didn't speak. "Sister, let's go pick up the trash." With an expectant expression on her face, Qingzhu's mouth twitched. "I won't go today. It's not like there's garbage every day, I'm hunting today." After finishing the meat, Qingzhu planned to catch some prey and come back. Stop by the town and purchase some identification documents. Qingzhu looked at Guanyu and took him to the city. Although Xiaoqi was a bit regretful that he was not taken with him, he obediently waited for Qingzhu to come back at home. As Qingzhu set off, he turned around and looked at Xiaoqi, saying, "Xiaoqi, be good and wait for my sister to come back and find you." Xiaoqi nodded obediently and said, "Okay, I'll wait for you, sister, to come back and find me." "I left and closed the doors and windows," Qingzhu reminded her. She trusted Xiaoqi to be alone because this child had been living here alone since childhood. Even if a person is restored now, they can still survive, let alone go and apply for their own identity documents. If they take Xiaoqi with them, they will be ridiculed by others. "Although I said I could call, I went to apply for some proof myself, not to fight with others." As for why he brought the Guanyu heavenly soldier, even if he lost his memory of the other party's identity as a heavenly soldier and the main brain of the metal, it's easy to handle things. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Dual Personality. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Dual Personality. At the beginning, the two of them went to purchase the main brain. The price of the main brain is 500,000 yuan, 500,000 yuan. "Yes, miss, may I ask if you want it?" The waiter was a robot and did not show any disdain. "Give me one." 500,000 yuan is enough for the main brain to purchase. Besides, registering for identity information requires going to the local government. After purchasing the main brain, Qingzhu realized that it was actually a chip that needed to be implanted into his own head. Of course, in this era of technology, there is no need for craniotomy, but rather a card slot has already been installed on each person's head since birth. Just put it directly into it. Qingzhu put a chip into his head and it felt a bit strange. "Hello Master, 101 is glad to serve you." The main brain appeared, with a mindset of an ordinary robot. Qingzhu looked at the screen and named the main brain, Mian Mian. Mian Mian is very happy to serve her master, Mian Mian immediately said. Qingzhu nodded at the words and said, "Connect to the internet." "Okay, my master, I thought you were connected to the internet." Mian Mian immediately said, "Master. Now the interstellar network can only be used on Woolstar." Qingzhu is not too surprised, the system can only be used in this world. At the beginning, she guessed that in order to block other people's communication, the ultimate result was to cut off all networks. Especially for these ordinary people, but... I looked around at Guanyu. "I'll say whatever you say later, you do it. Don't cause trouble, don't talk, by the way. Take your heavenly soldier medal. Others found this thing and it's useless. Wearing it will not shine, it is only useful for the owner to wear it. But it doesn't show what level he is a heavenly soldier. Tianbing D. level, C. level, B. level, A. level, S. level, double S, 3S, similar to Qingzhu. Come to the government hall." Because of Guanyu's heavenly soldier medal, the people inside immediately respectfully said, "Heavenly soldier lord, why did you come here?" Qingzhu was about to speak when he heard Guanyu say, "I'm here to repair my companion's identity information." This surprised Qingzhu a bit, and when she looked up, she saw Guanyu smiling at her, still foolish. Calculate your own goals and achieve them, regardless of whether the other party is pretending or not. Okay. With the presence of heavenly soldiers, the government officials did not harass Qingzhu. Let Qingzhu reach out and use genetic testing. You're actually from Emperor Star. Emperor Star is a top-notch planet, how could you come here? What's wrong? Qingzhu said. It's strange up there, it says you should be dead. The information provided above is death. Qingzhu smiled and said, I'm not just here. It was the heavenly soldier who saved me. Activate your identity. The government official spoke up and said, question. I don't have such high authority. Connect with the main brain of the heavenly soldier. Qingzhu remembers that heavenly soldiers have high permissions and can be tried on any planet. Guanyu nodded and walked over, using his own memory to connect his main brain. The government official looked at the man in shock, with high authority. Isn't he just an ordinary heavenly soldier? The government officials were actually surprised by the identities of these two people, and suddenly had a bloody plot in their minds. Hello, your identity information has been restored, the government official said. Delete the previous operation. Qingzhu currently has no intention of letting others find him. Okay, the government official nodded. Qingzhu looked at the sky, and the person who came to find her next could only be calculating her own enemies. If it's not based on the information recovery address, then it can only be those people who know where they are from the beginning and can only recover here. As Qingzhu walked, he said, let's go, thank you today. Sister, did I help you? Guanyu smiled and said. That's right. Qingzhu nodded. Guanyu held Qingzhu's hand and leaned against his embrace, I'm so happy to be able to help my sister. Never mind, I don't care if you're really like this, but I still want to thank you. Qingzhu sincerely thanked him, so that he could leave any time he wanted. As for bringing Xiaoqi, you need to first purchase a main brain for the other party and then have them register their identity information. Looking at Guanyu, this is a long-term plan. Guanyu is walking behind Qingzhu. My gaze became a bit cold, Qingzhu from Emperor Star. I haven't heard of this name myself, but a person from Emperor Star can be brought here, and I don't know who exactly offended. Guanyu covered his head, damn it. Another consciousness was about to occupy him. Hurry up, Qingzhu turned his head and said. Here we go, sister. Guanyu immediately ran to Qingzhu's side. Sister, how about we buy something delicious today? What delicious food do you want to eat? Qingzhu raised an eyebrow. That. Guanyu pointed to the ice cream not far away, as anyone could tell that he was very greedy. Qingzhu was a bit speechless, but ultimately chose to agree to buy for the other party. Okay, I'll buy for you. Only children like to eat ice cream, he is really a child. However, judging from Guanyu's appearance, he is not very old. Perhaps even though he is a heavenly soldier, he has not experienced any battles himself. In such a situation, she also relaxed a bit. Of course, even if he really threatened, she would just beat him up and crawl like a dog. Qingzhu also bought ice cream for Xiaoqi. On the way back, I originally wanted to buy a car, but thought I wouldn't need it if I left, so I gave up buying a car and only wanted a floating motorcycle. The floating motorcycle costs only 10,000 interstellar coins, and Qingzhu can still afford it. I purchased a floating motorcycle, and Qingzhu asked Guanyu to come up. Guanyu hugged Qingzhu's waist directly and said, Sister, I'm holding on to it. Qingzhu started the floating motorcycle directly, and the motorcycle was like drifting. I almost bumped into a passerby several times. Guanyu reached out and grabbed the motorcycle, pressing Qingzhu in front. Have you ever driven before? Guanyu stabilized the car and was in a bad mood. This woman definitely didn't drive. I'm just not familiar with it. Qingzhu adheres to the belief that in the end of the world, transportation is not just about hitting a few laps, and he has no doubt that he can't drive a floating motorcycle. You're not pretending anymore. Qingzhu was surrounded by Guanyu, feeling that his aura was different in an instant. I didn't pretend, Guanyu said, it's rare to tell you. Qingzhu could sense the meaning behind these words. Without pretending, could it be a dual personality? It seems like a double personality. Indeed, I still like that little guy who calls me my sister with a gentle voice. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Xiaoqi's father. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Xiaoqi's father. Faced with Guanyu's gaze, Qingzhu didn't express much. He helped himself, which is an unchangeable fact, so he is still very grateful to the other party. Of course, he gave the gift himself, and someone else would take a lot of effort to get rid of his demonic energy, so this is compensation. When I got home, Xiaoqi was waiting for me outside. Sister. Seeing Qingzhu return, Xiaoqi showed a bright smile and said, Sister, you're back. I've prepared food for you. Qingzhu nodded and went to wash his hands. Sister, we've brought the garbage again. We'll go pick it up tomorrow, Xiaoqi said. Guanyu didn't change back for a while and looked at Xiaoqi's appearance. He's been polluted so badly, what's going on this planet? What else can happen? The people outside come to take out the garbage every now and then, and here. It's just a garbage landfill. To put it bluntly, the people here are all garbage in the eyes of others. Guanyu looked outside and understood that there were some garbage disposal companies that initially promised to handle the garbage, but in the end, they did it this way. I will report this matter to you. The situation is very serious. In the year 4000 AD, humans triggered taboos and caused black mist to appear. Years of investigation suggested that it was possible for humans to destroy the planet, which angered the mother of the universe. There are still people who do not respect the planet. Such damage is truly heinous. Guanyu sat eating barbecue, looking at Qingzhu and Guanyu, feeling a slight headache. Sister, I still want this meat, Guanyu suddenly said. Qingzhu looked at the transformed person and said, okay, if you want it, my sister will do it for you. Hee. This is really the beginning of a good show. Take a look at it. You can tell at a glance that it has turned into a little white rabbit. Qingzhu spoke up and said, get closer. Guanyu approached curiously, and Qingzhu pinched the other person's cheek. It's really tender. Guanyu's cheeks were rosy, and his small face was also a bit unhappy. Sister, how could you just pinch me casually? I didn't pinch you casually, I intentionally pinched you, Qingzhu said with a wicked smile. The clearly bullied Guanyu didn't want to talk to her anymore, thinking that this sister was a super bad person, and the worst person in the world was Qingzhu. Qingzhu didn't bother about this matter at all, after all. Bullying others is also something worth looking forward to. After eating, Qingzhu and Guanyu went to pick up the garbage. At the garbage dump, many people have started fighting again. Xiaoqi. Suddenly, a little girl saw Xiaoqi and said, where have you been these days? Why are you here? Xiaoqi looked at the girl in front of him with asymmetrical eyes and a hint of displeasure. I don't need to tell you where I'm going, he said. Xiaoqi, how could you do this? At least you and I are also your sister, said the girl as she looked at Xiaoqi. Don't talk nonsense to me, I don't know what you're thinking. This is not the first time Xiaoqi has been around the garbage dump. As for his sister, as long as she is not a fool, he understands the other party's dirty thoughts. Qingzhu remembered that there was not no brother and sisters in Xiaoqi's family, but there was another sister. He is my father's child. When my father saw us all becoming monsters, he abandoned my mother. She was a stepmother's child. In other words, it's not my sister. Upon hearing this, Qingzhu nodded, indicating that she understood. The girl's face didn't look good. I said, are you a woman who wants to use Xiaoqi as a gun? I heard you have a lot of treasures, so it's best for you to take them out. This is Xiaoqi's. A 13 or 14-year-old girl who survives in this garbage dump cannot be an ordinary person. A few days ago, I noticed you Qingzhu. Now, looking at you Qingzhu and Xiaoqi, I naturally come up to ask for something. Xiaoqi spoke up and said, what are you, why are you here to shout at my sister? Xiaoqi said and smashed something over, but the girl didn't expect Xiaoqi to take action. Okay, you hit me, I'll tell Dad. The girl's face turned ugly as she watched Xiaoqi really hit me. Xiaoqi is not afraid either. Now he is someone protected by his sister. Go tell me, I'll tell you. No one is allowed to bully me here today. The girl had a bad expression and turned around to see her father coming. Father. Xiaoqi got the treasure and was deceived by this woman. Xiaoqi had new clothes to wear for no reason, so he must have found something good. The man looked very burly, and upon hearing these words, he looked at Xiaoqi and said, Xiaoqi, hand over your treasure. Why? Xiaoqi's face turned pale. I'm your father, said the monster as he looked at Xiaoqi's face with disgust. Xiaoqi didn't look good. I just have brothers, sisters and mother, but not you. Okay. Zhao Ming saw that Xiaoqi was so ungrateful, give it to me. With several people behind him, they came up to fight against Yu Qingzhu. Yu Qingzhu understood that this was aimed at him, grabbed an iron rod, and without hesitation stabbed into the person attempting to attack him. The person who was stabbed had a pale face and felt his body trembling. Yu Qingzhu looked at the other person and went to catch Xiaoqi, kicking him over. The iron rod in his hand swung fiercely and pierced through Xiaoqi's father's shoulder. Ah! Xiaoqi's father looked at Yu Qingzhu in horror. Zhao Ming didn't react at all, so Yu Qingzhu took action. What kind of person is Yu Qingzhu? Why can you be so powerful? Hurt yourself when you haven't even reacted yet. Are Xiaoqi going to be killed? Yu Qingzhu turned his head and said. Upon hearing these words, Zhao Yu was so frightened that she ran away. Yu Qingzhu threw a stone directly at him and knocked him down to the ground. Zhao Yu fell in a disheveled state and turned her head to look at Yu Qingzhu in horror. Xiaoqi, I'm your father, Xiaoqi. Xiaoqi's father screamed in agony, he was a nearby bully. To be honest, Xiaoqi's mother was a very beautiful girl. At first, she liked her, but later on, the child she gave birth to either died or was weak. Xiaoqi was even more of a monster, so he gave Xiaoqi's mother to another man as a toy. Xiaoqi's mother didn't want to play anymore, so she left with Xiaoqi's siblings. She worked hard to pick up garbage to feed her children, but in the end, she was still eroded by pollution. When his brothers and sisters were brought up, Xiaoqi watched his brothers and sisters die one by one, until he went to pick up garbage. Looking at the man in front of him, chop his hand. Take off the other person's hand, he won't be able to become the boss in the future. If he cannot become the boss, he will be taken away by others and lose everything. Xiaoqi's words made Yu Qingzhu nod and waste one of Zhao Ming's hands. If this hand wants to regenerate. There is no way to go to this garbage planet, there is still a possibility to go to a higher level planet. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. White Cut Black. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 White Cut Black. Yu Qingzhu looked at Zhao Ming's hands with a pair of cold eyes and said. Alright, you can go now. Zhao Ming was in excruciating pain, and he dared not confront Yu Qingzhu in such a situation. He could only run away from him. Yu Qingzhu touched Xiaoqi's head and said, Don't worry too much, I'm here. Others can't bully you yet. Sister, you're so kind. Xiaoqi felt extremely lucky. If it weren't for encountering Yu Qingzhu, he might have died. Alright, don't talk about all this work, Yu Qingzhu said. Xiaoqi immediately nodded. His face looked a bit strange, and Qingzhu didn't find it unsightly. I've seen so many zombies in my past life, how could I be afraid of a child? Moreover, this child is also an innocent victim. From beginning to end, others have inflicted harm on the child, so how can we blame the child for being ugly? Not a lot of garbage was picked up today, Guanyu said. Sister, I have more than him. No, there isn't. Xiaoqi immediately spoke up, Sister, I must be more than him. Looking at the 2-3-year-old children, if you keep arguing, I'll throw you out of the car. The two of them sat on the back cart, and she dragged the cart forward. The garbage sales this time are not very high, only 100 interstellar coins. Xiaoqi lost, and if someone hadn't stopped him, he would have gone up to show off his proud appearance. Are you a 3-year-old child? Qingzhu looked at Guanyu and said, unable to resist roast. When another person woke up, he might want to punch himself. Guanyu immediately smiled and said, Sister, am I helping you more? You definitely don't want Yu. Yu is very well behaved. With a soft and sweet voice calling out to your sister, Qingzhu admitted that the most unbearable thing for an old aunt is for her younger brother to call her sister. Especially since this younger brother is so beautiful, how could I bear to make him sad and cry? Okay, that's great. Qingzhu said, and Guanyu finally showed a sweet smile. Wait until you get home. Qingzhu went to take a shower. In this desolate wilderness, Qingzhu saw a wild beast approaching and without hesitation, dragged his knife to chop it. When he carried it back, he directly pulled out the skin and bones, and the method of doing it in one go shocked everyone. Even Guanyu couldn't help but feel a bit shocked and said, Sister, you have peeled your skin so many times. Qingzhu smiled and said, That's right, I'm a skinner. You should know that from the beginning, you were treating illnesses. Later, due to being on the battlefield and seeing the enemy too smoothly, many people began to question the level of their top healers. Qingzhu couldn't help but sigh, as expected, no matter when, people like to judge something by its surface. Barbecue is their favorite, and of course, some people have also set their sights on it. At night, while eating, a group of people parked their cars in front of the house. As he looked at Qingzhu and others in front of him, he tested with a machine that looked like a pistol and said, Boss, the black mist value here is still low, it's a good place. Black mist word count. Boss, look at a beautiful woman. Suddenly, looking at the person in Qingzhu's car not far away, he spoke up. Qingzhu noticed the evil gazes of these people, and as he looked at him, he licked his lips, revealing malicious intent one by one. Qingzhu looked at the people's gaze and said, What do you want to do? What are you doing? To make us feel refreshed and then roll away, he said as he looked at Qingzhu. Of course, if you're willing to stay, we'd be happy too. When that man speaks, he wears an evil smile. Qingzhu had an iron thorn in his hand and fell out in an instant. The man screamed and covered his eyes, falling off the car. What kind of thing dares to make a fool of myself? Qingzhu spoke coldly, Since you all have come, then don't leave. Everyone has arrived. It is impossible for Qingzhu to achieve the goal of pacifying the enemy by defeating them. There is a saying that goes, when the spring breeze blows, weeds grow again without removing their roots. The person in the car reacted and quickly said, Stinky girl. Who do you think you are? One by one, they began to fight against Qingzhu, holding weapons and looking over. Qingzhu looked at the glowing knife, leaving marks on the ground. This weapon is really good, it can be retracted. Without hesitation, he broke the other person's hand and snatched it over. With a single blow, several people present were cut off by the waist. When Qingzhu looked at it, he smiled directly and said, Good knife. The other side was just trying to rob, but no one knew that when encountering a black-hearted ghost like Qingzhu, he didn't hesitate to kill everyone. At first, the movements were too big, but now there are corpses and blood everywhere. What should I do? It seemed like I went too far just now, it needs to be cleaned up. Qingzhu said. Guanyu, who had come to his senses, looked at the innocent Qingzhu in front of him. This woman is definitely a devil. Even if she kills countless enemies on the battlefield, she cannot say such innocent words. Question. When she was chopping someone just now, she didn't hesitate. Burn it with a flamethrower. Guanyu opened a box directly and a flamethrower appeared, shocking Qingzhu. Digging trenches. Digging trenches, what is this? Space. Qingzhu was shocked. You should know that in her past life, she had a space. That space is a jade pendant, which many people have in their past and later lifetimes. Because if there are spiritual jade in the world, it is definitely not just one person, of course, it can only hold things, and there are no other spiritual springs or land cultivation purposes. When Qingzhu came to this world, she didn't know if her space had followed her. Why do you think so? Because the spiritual power within oneself is still being repaired, everything needs to wait for oneself to successfully repair before knowing if it has followed. Space is the spiritual force that integrates into oneself. This is a space button, 10 million interstellar coins, about 50 square meters, Guanyu said. Qingzhu felt that the price was too expensive, she had no money and was poor. Guanyu burned those corpses with a flamethrower and threw a button at Qingzhu. What are you doing for me? You saved me, I can still afford a space button. Besides, Qingzhu is a Heavenly Maiden. The demonized energy on his body is beyond the power of even the most powerful celestial maiden in the interstellar realm. Qingzhu's ability to heal is just a space button, but he still takes advantage of it. Qingzhu was shocked and said, "Thank you, how to use it? Don't you even know how to be polite to me? How to use it?" Qingzhu said, giving herself a piece of yarn and politely giving it to her. She must have turned it into her own immediately and used it to load the goods. She needs to fill the space with delicious food and know about her past life experiences, which have made her a complete foodie. End of this chapter.